have the Conference League coming up, and we kind of don't want to shock what happened in the first leg against Paco de Ferreira. So, what are your kind of thoughts for that game? Do you think Nuno is going to try and go all guns blazing, get the job done first, and then relax on the second game, or do you think it's going to be more of balancing the squad because of that game against Chelsea at the weekend?
Well, first of all, it's a different situation now with the injuries coming up, so the selection are more complex, but at the same time, I think these European Conference is very important to take it very seriously. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, let's get out of it and not take." No, I'm the opposite. This is potentially that medal we can potentially take in. To be honest, with you, in terms of if you assess the overall picture of the team and the depth of the Premier League and the competition in the Premier League. You know, we look at Man United now, and of course Liverpool as well on the weekend. We have a very extreme competitive Premier League contender there, you know. So this European Conference is extremely important and take it very seriously. If I was Nuno, there's no doubt we have to go into with the best possible team to win this game. At the same time, it's also good preparation for the Chelsea game, because I think after the Crystal Palace game, there's no doubt Nuno will be very unhappy with the performance, with the players, and he will have some changes and consequences in certain positions, what he potentially has as available because of the injuries he has, you know. But he will definitely put up a team where will definitely be for the Sunday game already ready, but very, very competitive and go out to win something. The club has to take it very seriously, because I think that's the one that potentially can win, you know. So if I was Nuno, I will go all the way and try to win that game, relevant to the Chelsea. Chelsea, we know, is one of the contenders. They are strong, and it's going to be a very good game as well. But I think Tottenham, of course, the injuries now, but if you look at like Manchester City, the first game against big teams like that, I think they come out and perform. I might be wrong potentially, but I think these are the games where Tottenham will come up and show that the real caliber they have, you know, and maybe the players not performing the weekend suddenly perform against these big teams of Chelsea, like they've done against Man City. The attitude was there, the spirit as a team was there, really they worked as a unit, and that's what I liked about the Man City game, to be honest with you. They're really like a unit. And then, of course, we've got the Sunday World Cup where sometimes down the season the little kind of runs as well will makes a big difference. But that unity, I have not seen that at Crystal Palace, what we saw against Manchester City. So that they have to come back to that kind of attitude, spirit, fighting spirit, and be unit. Even you're maybe one or two players less in the team, but when you go with the attitude and positive spirit into it as a unit, you can bring another 20-30% out of the performance, and that's been missed against Crystal Palace.
100%. You just want that unity back and that kind of fight for every man who has that shirt on the pitch. And like you said, we definitely missed that against Palace. So Forms, I come to you. Obviously, we've spoken that Ramon said that we're going to go potentially gun home because we need to. Obviously, it's one of those competitions we could possibly win the trophy. So do you think maybe we'll see the introduction of Dane Scarlett on Thursday, or do you think he'll stick with Harry Kane up top?
I mean, I personally think it would be silly to start Harry Kane against Rennes. I think put Dane Scarlett out there, give him a go. Only reason I say that is because you don't want to run any sort of risk of Kane getting injured for a game like Chelsea. And yeah, you can say that this competition is very important to us, and I agree. When we qualified for this competition, I was over the moon. I couldn't wait because I do think it's one of the best chances we will have of winning a trophy in a long time. But I think early stages where you can afford to play youth and you can afford to play your less experienced guys, I think we probably should reserve a couple of solid first team players for the Chelsea game. So yeah, I do think we'll start Scarlett, and I hope we do. And if we don't, so be it. Like it's not the end of the world. But yeah, no, I'd like to see Scarlett start.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see Scarlett. Like we said, obviously that first game against Paco de Ferreira in the first leg, he didn't really utilise him very well because they were always asking for the ball to his feet, whereas he wanted it in behind. So, Finley, do you hope if Dane Scarlett plays that Nuno will be telling the players, look, you need to play it in behind because that's the best way to utilise him?
Oh, definitely. I think I see some people making the point, like we touched on earlier about the point about Kane ghosting at the weekend, but it always comes back to the service. If you don't give the forward players, if the midfield or the wingers or whoever it might be don't give the person who's entrusted with scoring the goals the service, then we're not going to score any goals. It's as simple as that. And it does depend on team selection or whatever, but somebody out there on Thursday has got to, maybe one of the midfielders will have a little chat with Dane, and Dane might say, oh, do you know what, if he starts, do you know what, just give it to me in behind. I can, I've got the beating of these defenders, whatever. And I think that's maybe it's definitely what needs to be done, because we saw in pre-season, like whenever Scarlett got the ball in behind, he was always through, he was always wanting it. And even in the pre-season games that I watched, he got the ball in behind quite a lot. And I just think that's just the way he plays. And I know it's easier said than done, but the players have to adapt to having, different players playing in different styles of games and whatnot. But you can tell that's how Dane likes to play. And if he's gonna be the one entrusted with getting us the goals, then we do have to give him the correct service. Otherwise, he's just not going to score any.
I think going back in terms of when the first game they played, and everybody was astounded. Wow, what kind of team actually Nuno selected at the time? Some potentially will not get into the first team straight away, and he didn't play at Manchester City. I think what Nuno was trying to do in these games, especially against the Portuguese sides at the time, was a good point to come out with the youngsters to see the depth of his squad he has in terms of, like we now having injuries, which one he can count into it in some international games like the European conferences. And I think that game showed a lot of data for him, for which one he can actually count into it. And I think some of them will definitely come up again and play next week. With, of course, a mixture of potential Harry Kane coming in. Maybe it's good to rest him for half time, and it's a good time to give the youngsters a good run as well in the same time. And just having also just Harry Kane on the bench, that gives the confidence that he's coming in the second half or the last 30 minutes will be also enough as well, Again, but he has to come in with seriousness and competitive squad, because you need to take it seriously. Now, I think if they win 1-0, I think be very happy.
I think the Rennes game, it all depends on who we play in both these games. I predict 3-1 against Rennes. I think they're a decent, relatively decent French side, and I think they could potentially hit us on a dangerous counter or something like that, and I can see us conceding. So I'm going to go 3-1 against Rennes.
Finley, after that, you've got to say we've got to win it. What's your prediction?
I think we'll win both of them. I think for Rennes, like Form said, it kind of depends on the team selection and whatever. I'm not going to pretend to be some sort of French football aficionado, because I'm not. But I know they're missing Jeremy Doku, who lit up the Euros for Belgium. I read somewhere the other week that he's injured. He missed the game at the weekend, I think, and I think it said at the time of writing he was potentially going to miss the Spurs game. And obviously the other key player was Camavinga, who left in the summer and bagged for Real Madrid last night. So I feel like they're one of the teams where, obviously, nobody in that competition we can turn up and have the arrogance and go, oh, we're gonna turn these over, as we saw, numerous times last season in the Europa League, and then just this season against Pacos in the first leg. I think if we play a strong enough team, I think we should be able to do the job. But I'll go 2-0, but I feel like it won't be an easy 2-0.